Welcome to Trading Nation. I'm Eric Chemi. Kind of a sweet topic today. Cocoa, it's been tanking recently, losing about a third of its value in the last 6 months. Here to help make sense of the move is Brian Wagner, hedge specialist at First Capital Ag, a division of Wedbush. Brian, let's talk about cocoa because it's not the kind of thing we normally talk about here on Trading Nation. Give us some factors on what's pushing this move lower.
Well, good growing season this year in the Gulf of Guinea, Ivory Coast, and Ghana, and all those have seen the production go well above normal. Normal world production is about 4 million. They say production this year is going to probably be close to 4.5 million due to a pretty good-sized crop in the Ivory Coast and all the other producers. I think we went from a deficit last year to a surplus, I guess the biggest surplus we've seen in 6 years of cocoa.
When you think about supply and demand, it feels to me, and maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, I assume it's the supply side that moves these prices a lot more than demand, because my guess is demand is fairly steady year in and year out based on we know about how much cocoa people want to have. Is that right?
Yeah, right now the supply is huge for what's going on, and also they're saying consumption has been easing off. I guess the peak in U.S. consumption was back in 2005, and we've kind of slowly eased off a couple percent a year. I think health consciousness and that has kind of slowed down the U.S., and I guess Europe was off almost 3% last year. So the demand has not been as strong, and we got a big supply right now.
And then when you think about emerging markets, how much of that really affects the demand side for cocoa?
Well, they say, China, India really haven't met expectations, and I know they're, the other developing nations, the smaller, they're not really factored in as much, I think, right now. I mean, it's China, India is what they're looking for the consumption to pick up, and it just hasn't yet. U.S. consumption is off.
And when you think about the misconceptions out there, because obviously cocoa, it's fun to talk about because of chocolate and everybody's sweet tooth and all that, but when it actually comes to commodity level trading, what's really a misconception other that people have in the retail community that they don't understand how this thing really trades and what really affects its dynamics?
Well, what's happened, I guess, is Ivory Coast is the biggest cocoa producer, and buyers usually buy a year in advance. Well, the prices have dropped because they've had a big crop there this year. Now prices are a lot lower. They've defaulted on a lot of their contracts. We have a lot of supplies sitting in, like San Pedro is the biggest cocoa port, busiest cocoa port in the world right now. There's cocoa in warehouse. There's trains moving containers. There's trucks sitting there waiting to unload yet. And this is a crop that can, get bad pretty quick because they're just packaged in burlap bags waiting to be shipped out. So we've got a lot of beans, and there's nobody buying right now as strong as they should be.
So given that's true, is it possible that we might see even lower prices? I mean, obviously it's hard to predict commodities where they're going to go, but what do you get the sense just from talking to people in your community there in the cocoa trading world? Like, what do they think is going to be the next move for this thing?
Well, it's following a trend down. I mean, you can look at the fundamental side, which we've had huge supply, and the demand isn't there. Of course, prices will go lower. Eventually, prices will find a point where low prices will generate some demand. And there's always concern, too. Right now, a lot of those Ivory Coast farmers haven't been paid since their October harvest, and they have to get ready for the new harvest coming up and the mid-crop harvest that's here. They need money to put fertilizer on these old trees and get things going there. There's also talk of, some weather concerns happening. There's some dryness in the Western Africa, and we need to have some moisture. This year was a big rainfall year for them, so that's why the supply is so big. So there is, the weather premium could be added back into this market. If you look at the technical side of the market, July cocoa right now has a downtrending channel and a low that recently was hit at 1869 here in the March and May contract. If we've only been to this level 3 times in the last 8.5 years. We've come back out of this 1867 was a low we had in 2008, and 1898 was a low we had in October of 2011, and then just recently this March low here was 1869. The other 2 times we rebounded from this level back to that 3,400 area, to $3,400 a ton. So if you're trying to pick a bottom, I mean, we're as close to an area where you can. If you don't feel comfortable on the future side, there's always the call side. You can have a known risk with the trade.
That's true. When you look at that chart, you do see we're basically right here at these 10-year lows, and it keeps bouncing back from there. And then just the last question, just for the retail audience, if it's going to be down this much, am I really going to get a discount when I want to buy Kit Kats and Hershey's or whatever it is? Or is the price of those things totally unrelated to the actual price of cocoa, just because of all the other ingredients?
It takes a long time to pass that on to the consumer, so you're probably not going to see anything until the fall or even Christmas time. So it's hard to say, but no, it's not usually passed on from the minute it happens. No.
Well, Brian Wagner, this has been super interesting, super informative. A lot of stuff I did not know about cocoa. I'm sure that's true for the rest of our viewers. So thanks, Brian, for joining us here on Trading Nation. Really appreciate it.
You bet, Eric.
And thank you for watching us. I'm Eric Chemi. We'll catch you next time.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.